heard it's your birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Happy
What?
birthday.
Oh,
Oh
very
my
happy
gosh.
birthday.
Yes. The embodiment of Columbia has graced us. I'm so honored. Thank you.
Yes, happy birthday.
Hello, everyone.
Just astrologically, it's actually tomorrow. So
Okay. This is the
Well,
eve of birthday. We always
Eve of the
is-
birth.
Yeah, that's always the important part.
Well, welcome everyone. So this is the afternoon workshop on what has already been a very full and rich day. And so the title of this workshop is Invitation, Sophia Working. And so we're going to hear from Deb Abrams Dematte, Hazel Archer-Ginsberg, and Angela Foster, who all have beautifully decorated candles, which is a thing you do when you're working with Sophia, apparently. And so go ahead and take it away.
Well, welcome, friends. You must have heard it too. The call, the invitation. Yeah, you've heard it. You've heard the call. You've heard the invitation to work with the Sophia, to grow the light of wisdom in the warmth of love. Yeah, it's all around us. We can feel it. It tries to hide, but it won't. It won't hide. It can't, because it's in us so strongly. You know, maybe you heard the call because maybe you have questions like, well, who is this invisible being called by Rudolf Steiner Anthroposophia? Yeah, I mean, we know anthro, that's us, right? It refers to the awakening of our humanity and the work. Yeah, because we're here to work, is in bringing wisdom into our humanness. So, I don't know, perhaps you've met her as Philosophia, or by her many other names throughout the various cultures in history. Yeah. But how can we cultivate and thereby redeem this part of ourselves? So the invitation, it could come from many places. It certainly rings out from the Christmas conference. And so, you know, with this coming of the 100-year anniversary, the call seems to be resounding even louder. And the question is, can we hear it as an inner calling? And can we listen to it pulsing in the hearts of those around us? You know, today, after, you know, I'm going to do a little verse to warm up the space. You know, cyberspace can get a little cold. And then the three of us, we're going to begin by just, you know, sharing some of the karmic synchronicities that brought us to this moment. And then through some of Steiner's leading thoughts, we'll explore this living being who, since the Christmas conference, wants to be born anew through our working. And then after the breakout session, we'll have a large group sharing, which I hope you'll all participate in. And then I'll offer up the new Isis myth, which brings the past, the present, and the future into focus through the power of storytelling. And before we end, we'll look ahead to this future of Sophia working. And, you know, this is what we're called to manifest. So thank you, dear friends, for, answering the invitation. And good, do my colleagues want to say a little hello here before I do the verse?
Hi from Atlanta.
Hi, everyone from New Hampshire. So glad to see you.
So this is a verse that we've been working with, and it's just simple and right to the heart. O Holy Sophia, holy wisdom, holy joy, hidden for so long. Come forth and reveal yourself in the world and in our souls. Help us to see with a loving eye. Help us to hear with wit and intuition. Show us how to be natural and kind. Show us how to find ourselves in each other. Lead us from who we think we are to who we really are. Let us learn from the flower that we need not strive so hard. Teach us to allow that light from within to unfold as a gift, like the lily or your rose. So, yeah, how did we get here? It's so great. I mean, it's just a journey, and it really, part of it is karma, and part of it is something that happened at last year's AGM, right? You know how we do those little tables at lunchtime, you know, little themed tables, and usually you go to one and you forget what it even was. But last year there was a Sophia table, and people came and more people came, and we had to bring more chairs and another table and this and that. And as you can see in this beautiful picture, our hostess, Angela Foster, was there, and this being lives really strongly in her heart and spoke pretty clearly to her. And so I'll let the story go on from there.
Thank you, Hazel. Wow, that was a year ago when we were in Decatur together. Those pictures are amazing. Yeah, so we had the annual general meeting and the annual conference of the Anthroposophical Society in America in Atlanta last year. And it was a big deal in my life as, you know, the representative with boots on the ground in Atlanta. And I experienced a lot of warmth in that AGM. And I would say a huge part of it was this workshop that Carrie Schuchart led on the Holy Sophia. And I wish we had a picture of the altar that she had set up with all the pictures. But in the opening of that workshop, Carrie had us do an activity where each of us were given a card that she had prepared in advance, where we called out one of the many names of Sophia. And the way that Hazel's got hers, Grace of the Dove. Oh, I should let you say it. What is yours, Deb? You say yours.
Mine says cause of our joy.
Wow.
I can't even tell you all the feeling of sitting in that room, the electricity, the energy weaving among the people there.
Yeah.
Profound.
And
I think Carrie's here with us somewhere, right? Carrie, are you
I
here?
hope so. And the feeling that I had in that workshop was an invocation for Sophia. And the way that I experience Sophia is a never-ending story. It's just moving and ongoing, and that makes me, because it's never ending, then I suspect that there's no beginning too. So it's hard to jump in and start the story. So just know that this is a beginning, but it's way before and way after. So I would say, out of that invocation that Carrie Schuchart brought in the meeting, the lunchtime conversation that Hazel already spoke about, shortly after the AGM, I had a dream. And, you know, as anthroposophists, we're suggested to take up this night work as real work and not just passing dreams. So I had this dream about Hazel, and that to take it up and really work with it, I called her and we had a conversation, and she had a matching dream. And we said, this is incredible that we had these dreams that sort of are like bookends for each other. And then she told me, oh, I'm going to be coming down south soon on this tour for All Souls Day. And I don't really know how I'm going to get there, but maybe you can meet me in Tennessee. And I said, well, meet you in Tennessee. Why don't you fly to Atlanta and I'll drive you to Tennessee? So she said, oh, yeah, that'd be great. So we started just having this experience of initiative. And then we slept on it for a few nights because, you know, you can sometimes get ahead of yourself if you get really excited in this work. So we said, well, let's sleep on it for a few nights. And in the night work, again, I started perceiving Deb was in the car with us on this road trip. So I checked with Hazel and I said, what do you think about working with Deb? And she said, sure. So we called Deb and she said, yes. So yeah, out of this.
I mean, you called and we left like 9 days later. This all I mean, imagine the timing. It's from like the AGM middle of October and this trip was like November 6th. So this is all a very, very short time.
Yeah.
Then we're there and then we're there.
And it was pre-COVID, so we could do stuff like that. You could get on a plane, you didn't have to quarantine, you could drive around. So I think, I mean, by our schedule, we have like 5 minutes left to tell this amazing story. So I'm just going to go really fast, and Hazel put together these slides with these beautiful pictures. But the point, I think the overall point is to say that the Sophia is social. And so we wanted to just bring this picture of the three of us working together out of a warmth of heart and trying to have a clarity of thought all around this work that Hazel was doing with All Souls Day and connecting with communities in the South. We ended up going to 4 different cities. We went to Auburn, Alabama, and then we went to Memphis, and we went to Nashville, and we went to Knoxville. We went to Knoxville after that, and Atlanta. So Hazel did this presentation 5 times, and Deb and I sort of escorted her along. But as she had this content about All Souls Day, we also, around the edges of that, did biography work with each other, just friendship, right? We were friends. And because I'm the one in the South and I'm doing some spiritual work around place, I knew, okay, when we go to Auburn, we're going to be going right through the birthplace of Helen Keller. And I perceive that Helen Keller is directly related to the philosophy of freedom. So why don't we stop there and visit there? And then when we go to, what's the other city? Nashville? No, Memphis. When we go to Memphis, we just had the AGM where we talked about Martin Luther King. Well, in Memphis is where he was murdered. So we need to go visit the Lorraine Motel and drive by Graceland and just make these stops where we left offerings of soil and natural objects that we had brought from our homes. When we were at the Lorraine Motel, we offered up the foundation stone meditation as trying to bring a gift of healing to that wounded place. You jumped in, Deb, because
our journey was accompanied by reading and conversation and being in nature. I think that trees and water, as you can see in the slide now, played a great deal, had a great deal of emphasis, and we were over and over going to different places and feeling both the difference of the space and the history and the time, but also the deep connections, you know, this other kind of experience of mysteries where there are different ways to penetrate them. And if you're awake and looking, you can find different perspectives and understand things in different ways. And all of it just seemed so connected to the Sophia work that happened at the AGM, and also our conversations and thinking about Martin Luther King. And there we were then, feet on the ground, meeting with many, many people. I mean, one of the things that stands out for me, when our first night away in Alabama, or our first day, we went to Helena Burkhart's house, and all these members from Alabama. I never have even been in Alabama, and she kept telling me to come, and I was like, yeah. And then we were there, and just the quality of the images that Hazel brought, and the story and the feeling that created among the people, all of the stops and the experiences were cumulative on the journey, and I feel like really enriched, individually and collectively for the 3 of us, but then really allowed us to expand the work that we're doing with the Sophia at every level. And so one thing also before I stop is, this, you didn't quite say this, Hazel, and some of you might know, but coming out of this work at the AGM, a group has actually been meeting monthly, doing biography work, talking about their experiences and their relationship with the Sophia and with Anthroposophy. And this has evolved into the idea of planning a conference, a national conference in 2022. And so I just offer our experience as one small picture of the many, many things that are going on. Some of the people are in this room and some of them are not. So many initiatives, so much study and love and connection. And I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg about how all this weaves together and what kind of strength and wisdom and power it can bring for all of us as we meet these challenging times. We're just like one little pinpoint of that.
Yeah,
All
and
this beauty that you are all part of.
That's right. And so are the ones on the other side. You know, it was an All Souls event, and so we really are, you know, bringing in all the spiritual beings. And so this magic spot everywhere, beautiful people, magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the picture that we're bringing is just one petal of her rose.
Yes.
And one of the themes that comes up again and again is this idea of the Martha Mary. And if you know the story in the Bible, there's this, I'll just tell it very quickly, is the master is there and these two sisters come into the room, and Martha's the one who's preparing the space and bringing the wine and the grapes, and her sister Mary is sitting and listening to the teaching from the master. She's sitting at his feet. And Martha says, Lord, you know, would you just tell my sister to get up and help me? I'm over here doing all this work by myself. And she's sitting there. And he says, oh, but your sister has chosen the better path. So I've taken that story in my life, and in me and other friends that I talk to about this, it feels like the time that we're in now is both the Martha Mary time, where we're constantly working with the esoteric when you're on a path of self-development, but it's in the exoteric. So this journey that we took together, it was this constant weaving between the esoteric work and the encounter with the people that we were coming to, but also, you know, Airbnbs and driving the car and, you know, getting Deb to the airport on time. It was all this Martha work right in the midst of the Mary work. So
and that's why we have these colors of the red and the blue. That's our little theme, you know, and that's the blood, right? The red blood and the blue blood, they really have to work together. And Harry said it nicely today too in his talk.
So we ended, Deb had to fly home back to her day job. And Hazel and I stayed on another day or two. And then we ended on the top of Stone Mountain, where we again offered up the Foundation Stone meditation. Stone Mountain has been a place where the Ku Klux Klan has met and worshiped. So we offered up the Foundation Stone meditation and some sacred soil that we had collected at all the sites along the way, and just offered that as our humble offering towards continuing our healing work in this time. So I'm forever grateful for that, and we're probably right at the time we need to be. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Hazel.
Yeah, so as Deb mentioned, you know, this is just like a little taste of the fact that there is going to be a future, and that, you know, everybody can do this work of bringing this energy of the Sophia into their lives and joining with other people to explore what that could look like in the world. And so we have a few beautiful quotes here that I thought we could bring as some leading thoughts that will help us when we get into our breakout groups, you know, to really give us an idea of what this being, the Sophia, is.
The term Anthroposophy should really be understood as synonymous with Sophia, meaning the content of consciousness, the soul attitude and experience that make a person a full-fledged human being. The right interpretation of Anthroposophy is not the wisdom of man, but rather the consciousness of one's humanity. In other words, the reversing of the will, the experiencing of knowledge, and one's participation in the time's destiny should all aim at giving the soul a certain direction of consciousness, a Sophia. And that's from Awakening to Community.
Sophia must become present again. But we must learn to relate to this Sophia to the consciousness soul. Bring her down directly into life. Then Sophia becomes the being who directly enlightens human beings. After Sophia has been consciously allowed to enter, she takes the human being with her and presents them outwardly, objectively to themselves. Thus, Sophia will be drawn into the soul and become inwardly connected. Then she will present herself not only as Sophia, but as Anthroposophia, as the Sophia who, after passing through the human soul, henceforth bears that human being within her. And in this form, she will show herself to enlightened human beings as the objective being who once stood before the Greeks as Sophia.
When we are more and more able to experience the content of Anthroposophy in our heart, in our feelings, then it is as if living cosmic beings enter our souls. Then Anthroposophy will appear to us increasingly as a living being. And we will become aware that something is knocking at the threshold of our heart, saying, "Let me in, because I am you, yourself. I am your true nature, your very humanity."
So, with that inspiration in mind and all you are carrying with you from your experience at this conference and in your life, we would like to move into a short session of breakout rooms. And we are going to ask that you actively listen to one another. You've heard the instructions of the keynotes and everything, so I'm not going to repeat all of that, but we're going to ask each person to take a turn speaking for 3 minutes with silence in between. And I guess, Angela, I think you better explain the rest of it because I'm not sure I can do it clearly. So we do have a little bit of an artistic aspect of it. And the sharing can basically be whatever is on your heart. It can be your relationship to the Sophia. It can be questions that you're carrying. It can be an inspiration that is arising in you from the quotes, however you want to do that. And then, Angela, will you tell about the artistic activity that we're going to connect to?
Okay, thanks. So yeah, we were thinking, of course, with Sophia, it's great to do art, but it's hard to do it in the amount of time that we have and on Zoom. So we'll do a little word art and, like Deb said, practice listening. So the idea is that we'll go into the group, into the breakout rooms, and there'll be probably 3 people in your group. So just picture being in a little triangle, and when it's your turn to speak, I guess pick the order that you're going to go in, like 1, 2, 3. And when the first person shares, whatever, you're free to share anything you want to about Sophia, your experiences, questions, your favorite images, anything. And the person who is number 2, say you're number 1, then number 2 is going to be listening. And when you're done speaking, their task is to say 1 word back to you. And it's trying to just be a reflection. And I know it sounds, oh, that's going to be like 3 minutes. How am I going to put what this person said for 3 minutes into one word? But don't stress about it. It's just one word, and it doesn't have to be the only word for all time. It's just for right now. And then when we move on, then number 2 will have their 3 minutes, and number 3 will reflect a word back to them. And then 3 will speak, and 1 will reflect back. So the hope is that when we come back into the big group, that each breakout room will have 3 words. Okay, we'll have 3 words to share with the big group. And Jordan says that some groups might have 4. So then you're a square instead of a triangle. But so your 3 minutes becomes 1 word through your friend. And when you come back to the group, hopefully we'll have, if we have 23 people times 3, what is that, 9?
Don't do it. One thing I will say to you is that there is 15 minutes, and the idea is that each person can speak, and then there will be a short time at the end for the 3 or 4 of you to converse as well. But I don't think that we're going to do the fancy thing with warning you about the times. I think we're going to ask you to please work out your times yourself, if you don't mind. We're going to start in a few minutes, and we'll have 15 minutes. Jordan, maybe you can tell us when we're ending, and then people can just do their best to divide up their time. Does that sound okay? Is everyone okay with that?
That's great. So I'll just provide a 3-minute warning, and so a few of the groups will have 4 people, but there's plenty of time, so everyone can still have 3 minutes.
Did the instructions seem clear enough? It's hard for me to tell if I'm making sense.
Does anyone have questions? Yeah, and maybe if you can just tell us what time we're ending when you put us in, right, as you send us into the group, so people can just know when to finish up by. Kathy, do you have a question?
Yeah, it was just the time issue again. So the breakout room is for 15 minutes?
Right.
Okay.
But Jordan, maybe you can just do the math as before you do it and say, okay, we're going in and we're ending at this time. And so everyone will just know the end time. Yep. And then the 3-minute warning would be great.
And then we'll have 15 minutes to share amongst each other in the big group.
Okay. Does anyone else have questions? Does that seem clear enough? It's very free, so however you do it is going to be just perfect. I think we're ready, Jordan.
Okay, let's do it. So we'll be back at 4:13, but I'll give a 3-minute warning.
Okay. Everyone got that? 4:13. See you then.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
You were back. Did we all come back? Yes. I thought we left off at 21. There's Laura Summer.
Hi, Laura. Hi, everyone.
Oh, I hope that was a good experience in your breakout room. My breakout room was awesome. So let me just do a time check. Where's my sheet?
Who would like to share their words from their circle, their little karmic knot?
Well, first of all, I'm just going to say, is this when Jordan's doing the writing, right? Do you know that, Jordan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we asked Jordan in this theme of art, creating art. So we've already have this one level of art where we worked with the logos. But now we've asked Jordan to take his hand and write these words down. And you're invited to too, if you want to write them, if you have a notebook or some chalk or something. But Jordan's going to write them down for us. And then I think there's a point in the conference where we might get to hold it up on the screen and show everybody just as an artifact from our working group. So how will we do it?
I think there's 22 people. I think if one person from each group could just say them, I think we're all on one screen. That should work. Mm-hmm. Do you think?
Well, in my group, we said we were each going to say the word, but I just don't know how we'll pass around. How will we know who goes next? Amy has her hand up.
So are we to give the list of words? Because I did record them.
Yeah.
For our group.
Why don't you start?
Words?
Yes.
Okay. Reconnection, reflection, natura, thinking.
Okay, one more time, but a little slower, please.
Reconnection, reflection, natura, and thinking.
I think we're going to have to just jump in and keep going, or we're going to run out of time.
Okay,
Right.
so I'll go for my group, and then wait, I lost my word. So, nurture, and I'll pass it to Hunter.
Connection.
Divine feminine.
And then I'll pass to Signy.
My group has already gone. Amy read our group. Angela?
Okay, can you pass to somebody?
Yeah, I don't see people.
I can go for my group.
Good.
Transformation, companion, and healing. Helen Ann, has your group gone?
Yeah, I can go for our group. We had return to the heart, arise, service.
Does someone have a group that hasn't gone? Jump in. Sandra.
Okay. Receptive, real, social art, uniting heart and mind.
Have all the groups shared their words?
Jennifer.
Moving devotion, loving acceptance.
Beautiful.
Those are beautiful words. Thank you.
Thank you.
So clean and pure. Did you get it, Jordan?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, are we turning over to you, Hazel?
Do you want to give us a preview, Jordan? Just a little snapshot of what you got going so far?
All right. It definitely was not pre-planned, but here's what I got. See that? No, we can't quite see that. Let's try. Yeah.
Oh, it looks like Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas, yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's so beautiful.
So, does anyone have anything else, any other reflections from their small group that they just want to share quickly before we move on to the next part? Okay, well, this next part is really an exciting and wonderful treat. I am so happy to be working with Hazel and Angela together on this workshop, and I want to sort of reintroduce Hazel to you in preparation for her bringing the new Isis myth, and say that for me, Hazel brings this amazing combination of warmth and history and art and vision. And in doing so, allows us to understand things that we have heard of before in new and imaginative ways, thus deepening our experience. And so I'm extremely excited that Hazel will be now sharing this new Isis myth with us. Take it away, Hazel.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be together, the three of us, the three musketeers, and all of you. This is beautiful, and to be in this chalice that that Jordan has made for us. So yeah, this new Isis myth. Have some of you seen it? Have you looked at it? You know, it comes from Rudolf Steiner 102 years ago. So of course, we know that these 100-year milestones are an important Rosicrucian mystery, right? And when they're reached, the impulse set forth a century before, having ripened like a seed in the grave, can now be reborn, renewed and lived into to create a future where the new Isis can be unveiled by humanity in full consciousness. So our dear Dr. Steiner says, it is not the Christ we lack, but the knowledge of Christ, the Sophia of Christ, the Isis of Christ we are lacking. So the truth and power of the word, we got to play a little bit with this receiving of the word, right? It must be resurrected through our striving to activate the wisdom of Anthroposophia within each of us to bring love to light. And, Rudolf Steiner told this tale on Epiphany in his 1918 lecture, Ancient Myths and the New Isis Mystery, their meaning and connection with evolution. This is part of our evolution. And as we know, Epiphany was the last of the holy nights, right? So did you know that that's the birthday of Joan of Arc? Go figure. So I've adapted it. And, so that the voice of the new Isis is spoken in the first person. And I've added my little art collages because for me, the intentional threefolding of art, science, and spirituality must come forth in our time. So, are we ready to begin? Okay, let us attend to the myth-telling of the new Isis. Open thou my lips that I may show forth thy praise. And so it was that it happened like this. While humankind was busy, being distracted by the materialistic thinking of the deceiver, the hardener, the denier, the fallen light bearer, the seducer, spirited me away. He slew my divine wisdom, carried me out into space, and sunk me deep into the world ocean. Isis, Sophia, wisdom of God, Lucifer has slain her, and on wings of cosmic forces carried her away into the depths of space. Christ will, working in us, shall tear her from Lucifer, and on grounds of spiritual worlds, call to new life in human souls. Isis, Sophia, wisdom of God. So, dear friends, when you look out into the heights and see the stars, moving now only according to mathematical lines, there you see the grave of the world soul. For my divine wisdom, the Sophia of Isis was slain. Will you seek me? Will you dare to approach the science of fallen light with its mathematical abstraction, gathering the courage to see past the fear-based materialism of the deceiver? Armed with the force of the Christos, the being of love, look for me, dear ones, in the bow of color. For the seducer has spread me out into the beauty of the whole universe. I shine forth from the cosmos in an aura of many colors. Yet, I am hard to see. For the fallen light has blurred and washed out my colors in all their clear distinctness, blended and merged them into a dull, uniform, electric light. Dear Goethe sought me, but he was not completely able to spiritualize his discoveries just yet. So still am I spread out over the marvelous, manifold, and secret deeds of the whole cosmos. And so our story continues, dear friends, closer still to this now. For as time went on, the age of secular science got stronger, and spiritually unaware, ill-behaved persons lacking in culture or artistic appreciation, concerned only with materialistic values, grew. I was pushed further back with the smug mind of conventional immorality. Yet and still, there was a true human being, a humble initiate who knew me. He knew me through my beloved son, Michael, and our connection to the being of love. The humble initiate worked to prepare the Michaelites for a new way of thinking, a renewed way of living and doing. And so, in the midst of all this, there, upon a hill, some say it was St. Odely's hill, where the Grail mysteries lay in spiritual seclusion among the caves of the Hermitage. Yet, hidden in plain sight, was erected a building, which was considered to be very remarkable in the land of materialism. To use the language of Goethe, the building represented an open secret, for the building was open to all. In fact, everyone could see it at the most convenient times. But most people saw only the surface of something that to them was an interesting oddity. Most people looked past what was represented there in the detailed craftsmanship, outpicturing the sacred. A large wooden, hand-hewn statue was intended to be the central point of the building. The statue represented a group of beings, a representative of humanity, and two figures showing the adversarial polarities, known as Lucifer, the seducer, and Ahriman, the deceiver. People looked at the statue and could not see humor and did not know, in this age of scientific abstraction in the land of materialism, that the statue was, in fact, really a veil for my invisible being, brought down in part from the starry ocean heights through the purified imagination of that humble initiate. But my invisible being was, of course, not noticed by the people, for a dull veil covered the eyes of the onlookers, so they could not see that it was I, the new Isis. Only a very few unusual folk in that land of scientific profundity had ever even fathomed this remarkable connection between what was visible and what, as the new Isis, was concealed behind that open and evident secret. But please remember, dear ones, that behind the figures was not an abstract new Isis. No, it is my true wisdom, embodied as the actual new Isis, Mary, Sophia. There were some few who, in special circumstances, in rare meditative moments, had caught a glimpse of me as this new Isis and found that I was asleep. Sometimes these people were able to turn in those special moments and read the inscription, which is plainly there at the spot where the statue stands, but which has been read by very few. And yet, the inscription stands clearly there, clearly as the inscription once stood on my completely veiled form in ancient Egypt. the new inscription says, I am humanity. I am the past, the present, and the future. Every mortal should lift my veil. Then along came a spirit visitor, a being who approached my sleeping figure as the new Isis. And this being came back again and again. And as the sleeping Isis, I considered this spirit visitor to be my special benefactor. And because of his keen attention, I thought perhaps I loved him. And so it was that one day I came to believe in a strange illusion, or was it a fantasy, or perhaps the past in shadow form? I did not then know. The visitor also believed in this particular illusion, which was that I, as the new Isis, had given birth. I considered the spirit visitor who I looked on as my patron to be the father. He regarded himself as the father, but in reality, he was not. And then I came to see that the spirit visitor was none other than Typhoon or Set, the Egyptian evil one in a new form, a clever combination of the seducer and the deceiver, who believed that he could acquire a special increase of power in the world if he took possession of me again as the new Isis. So there it was, that as the new Isis, I had given birth to an offspring, but I did not yet know its nature. I knew nothing of its character or being. I felt I had to move it away from the new Typhoon, so I dragged it into far-off lands to keep it safe. I trailed my new offspring about. And since I dragged it through so many regions of the world, it fell into pieces, into 14 parts, through the very power of the world. Yes. As the new Isis, I carried my offspring into the world, and the world dismembered it. 14 pieces. 4 plus 1 to equal 5, the number of humanity. And when the spirit visitor, the new clever combined seducer and deceiver, the new Typhoon, had come to know of this, he gathered together the 14 pieces, and with all the data of modern science, he again made a being, a single total out of the 14 pieces. But in this being, there was only mechanical laws, the law of the machine, not the true ideal of the human being. And so it was, my friends, that a being had arisen with the appearance of life, but with the laws of a machine. And since this presence had arisen out of 14 pieces, it could reproduce itself again, 14-fold. And the new Typhoon could give a reflection of his own being to each piece, so that each of the 14 offspring of myself as the new Isis had a countenance that resembled the new Typhoon. And I had to follow this whole strange affair, half divining it, half knowing that I could see the whole phenomenal change that had come to my offspring. I knew that I had dragged it around the world, that I had brought all this to pass myself. But I was not alone. There came a day when, through the service of the humble initiate, I began to envision my offspring in its true, its genuine form. And I was able to collect it again, gather it from a group of spirit beings who had received it from some helpful elementals. As I took in my true offspring, which only through an illusion had been stamped into with the countenance of Typhoon, there dawned upon me a remarkable mystic vision. I suddenly noticed that I still had the cow horns of ancient Egypt, in spite of having become the new Isis. And lo and behold, when I had this vision, the power of my augury summoned, some say old Typhoon himself, some say Mercury. And he was obliged, through the power of my clear sight as the new Isis, to set a crown on my head in the place where once the old Isis had worn the crown which Horus had seized from her, right there on the spot where I had worn the cow horns. But this crown was merely made of paper, covered with all sorts of writings of a clever scientific nature, important looking charts and graphs, statistics. Yet and still it was paper. So now I had two crowns on my head, the cow horns and the paper crown, embellished with all the acumen of scientific profundity. Then, through the strength of my new inspired clairvoyance and the dedicated work of the humble initiate, there arose in me one day the deep meaning, as far as the age could reach, which is described in St. John's Gospel as the Logos, the Word renewed. There arose in me the revelation of the true significance of the being of love's sacrifice for all the ages yet to come. Through this strength, the power of the cow horns grasped the paper crown and changed it into a golden crown that was in truth a chalice, a holy grail, which can hold the power of the word newly forged through a spiritual science founded from the fires of rebirth at that faithful Christmas conference presided over by the humble initiate, active on the foundation stone of love planted in all hearts that are open to my light of wisdom. The humble initiate named my redeemed offspring Anthroposophia, so that now I can live within your human soul, the bridal chamber of the heart, where through your focused free willing, a sacred marriage can be sanctified, the sacred marriage of spirit to soul, of warmth to light. Are you ready to say, I do?
Thank you, Hazel, for bringing that beautiful story.
Any comments, questions before we go look more into the future? I just, I'll add that the other day in my study group, we've been meeting on Wednesday mornings and working with the Karma lectures, and somebody talked about this idea of that wisdom is born of crystallized pain. And I really feel like this myth, has that, this idea that, wisdom, it's born of truth, the truth of love, and, courage, is born of wisdom. But wisdom, this crystallized pain, that out of pain consciousness is born, right? So, and then beauty can then be born of this wise balance between truth and courage and pain.
Thank you, Hazel. It's one of those times for me right now where it's really hard to transition from Martha, or from Mary to Martha. But just very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, I can say that I'm so glad I had this assignment of these letters. I was able to just fall into some doing an artistic activity while listening to that, and I immediately became a little boy, like hearing a fairy tale, and I recognized how rare that is for me, not to be grasping with my intellect, but just to hear a story and to kind of let it wash over me. And so thank you very much for that. I do feel that I feel the Sophia in that, I guess I can say.
What's going on at the Yip House there in Sweden? Are you there, Ultraviolet? Well, if there's no more reflections, do you want to shall I bring the screen share back up and talk, you guys can talk about the future?
Yeah, let's do that.
I just want to say that thank you so much. I think we're all just wanting to not leave the space and not speak, Hazel. It was so beautiful that we just kind of want to be in the space and not bring our intellectual thinking to analyze it and bring concepts, but just to feel. And I love your story. It was great. Thank you.
It's an interesting social moment because it's, now that you said that, Kathy, I'm remembering working with Glenn Williamson. Maybe some of you have seen some of his work. He's an actor, and he brings one body of work that he does called the Incarnation of the Logos. And it's a little bit like that at the end of that performance. And when we're gathered together he's come to Atlanta maybe 4 times. So when we're gathered together in physical space and he does a performance, there's a period of silence. And then usually somebody will start clapping, and then we clap and stop the space, break that mood. And when it would happen in the physical space, there was this part of me, particularly the last time I was here, where I just almost got mad that people were clapping. Because it's like, no, I don't, just stop. We get so few moments where we can all just be together in a space like that. So, but now we're in Zoom and all that clapping isn't even a real possibility anyway. So now it's like, I wonder how, as a community, we'll be able to mark those kinds of moments. What are you holding up? Your candle?
Beautiful, Amy. Thank you for sharing that. I think that our plan is to just give you a little tiny overview of next steps. But before we do that, if there are any initiatives or projects or wonderings that are coming up for you all in your own journeys, there's definitely some space. Please just unmute and share. We would love to hear from you. Hi, Amy. Yes, please.
I wish I had been on your journey through the South. I feel like when you were describing it that I was there. So thank you. And I do have an initiative of sorts that is taking on flesh. It's been an idea that I've held for a couple of years, and I want to create a website to have more things out there for the divine feminine, but it's called Natura's Garden. So don't go look for it yet because it's not there. But I do believe that besides anthroposophists, I would like to reach out to people who are have the vibration of the divine feminine. I've been engaged with that for 22 years. And more recently, the goddess Natura. And that's been an elusive sensing type thing that it's hard to put flesh on. It's hard to actually create a something about it, to have a web page necessarily. But I'd like to have that be a portal for people to come to or toward Anthroposophy. It's not going to necessarily be blatantly that. It's just an offering. The concepts are there, the content is to be born. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you for sharing.
And thank you for your beautiful, I love Hazel's images. I love the collage work. I love that. And sometimes I think, I know you've made some of them, I bet, but you haven't gotten them all and you found them somewhere and it's amazing. So thank you, Hazel.
Would anyone else like to share? Well, thank you for, Stephen, would you like to share?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Hazel, for just the example also. Besides that, it was so wonderful. It was just an example for all of us to try to translate Martha into Mary speak, like to learn how through this kind of example to take the intellectual ramblings and to turn them into imaginal artistic representation. So thank you.
Well, thank you also. Sandy, please.
I just feel moved to say thank you. It's beautiful. I've loved this new Isis myth for a long time. So that was very beautiful. But also I have been, this is an initiative, a personal initiative, and I'm working with a group of people to be conscious of, and Hazel mentioned this a few minutes ago, mentioned her, Columbia, goddess Columbia. And I'm working with a group of people who are looking at goddess Columbia that's on the top of the Capitol building, holding, watching, holding what's going on in the United States. And that has been very, very helpful to me to not look at the flag and have more negative feelings, but to know, to raise my consciousness with the goddess Columbia as at a higher level. It's helped transform my feelings. So I just want to, never heard of Columbia until Hazel brought her to a group at the Eclipse in St. Louis a few years ago. So I just wanted to share that. This is some personal work I'm doing.
Thank you. So in the spirit of collaboration and initiative and next steps, there are some other activities and things coming up related to the work of the Sophia Group that's been meeting. Angela, were you going to tell us about the Holy Nights? Or is that Hazel?
I think that's Hazel.
I think that's you, Hazel.
Well, this group has been meeting since last year, pretty much once a month, and we've been, just really kind of getting to know each other and sharing our biographies and kind of doing a 5-minute version of what we did for 3 minutes of, how we came to know the Sophia in our lives. And so that's been really beautiful, and thinking about the future. And for me, I don't know how it was in your groups, but, my background, I've, besides the Sophia, I know the Divine Feminine by many, many names. And I just thought, the success of last year with the Holy Nights was such a wonderful thing. Can we make a theme where it's this idea of the Divine Feminine in all her many aspects? So the name arose by any other name just sort of popped out. And so the idea at this point, which is growing and changing, and everybody's, welcome on the Sophia working group to participate in this, is to have each one of the Holy Nights to be, a little section where there's a different representation, maybe Saraswati, or maybe, whatever names in different cultures that this being resonates. And just to hear like a little biography of the goddess, and in this way. And that would maybe help us to understand this being that lives in Anthroposophy as well, if we learn all her many faces. So that's something we're thinking about. Anything else to add, Angela?
Just an invitation that we're always looking for co-workers and co-creators. So if you happen to have a particular facet of Sophia that shines through you, or that you shine through, reach out and let us know, because it's still an idea. Hazel brought the idea forward, and we were like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's talk about it after the AGM. So there's lots of room for contributors if you feel that she wants to speak something through you or your work, your art.
And then I think, as was mentioned, or maybe we just mentioned it in my group, but you see on the slide, there is the intention for the forming of a Sophia conference, a national conference in 2022. And so we just want to share the idea of that and let you know that that is percolating as well. And in the meantime, what I'm seeing is, in the way that two of you have now shared your initiatives in your own spaces, there are projects and imaginations and gatherings happening all over the country that we're aware of. And so part of the idea of this group is to just sort of be holding and supporting one another and sharing information and creating this picture, this energy field to support us into the development of however this all unfolds. But I have to just say, from a personal perspective, it is so enlivening and exciting, and hopeful and healing, especially now when so many things seem so difficult to navigate. And so I hope you share our enthusiasm for all the possibilities that are coming toward us.
I love the way you said beholding, because for a moment, Deb, I know you said it in a way that was like to be holding it, but I heard it as to be beholding. So it's both, just to behold everyone's work, what's happening in the world. And yeah, before we close, I just want to say a thank you again to Carrie Schuchart for your contribution last year. It's still reverberating through us. So thank you for bringing that.
Right. So shall we move to the closing?
Unless anybody has a burning, something you want to say. Okay.
So we have a little quote to share in closing from an outline of occult science, the present and future of cosmic and human evolution.
Beginning with the Earth phase of evolution, the wisdom of the outer cosmos becomes an inner wisdom in the human being.
Internalized in this way, it becomes the seed of love. Wisdom is the prerequisite for love.
Love is the result of wisdom that has been reborn in the I.
Thank you, dear friends, for joining us this afternoon.
Yes, thank you.
And thanks to Jordan for his creative contribution and tech work. Yay.
Oh, let's see. Oh,
can you make it big?
Yeah, undo the screen share so we can see it. If you say something, you'll get.
There we go. It can pop to me. Oh, up.
Yeah.
Speak of you.
Wait, you say something again, Jordan. So
okay. Can you got it?
There we go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Perhaps you can take a picture, Jordan, and send it.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll put it on the Padlet.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, what happens next? Are we all on break?
Yes, break till 5:30. Do you want to just unmute people so people can just